Hello, how's it going? How we doing? Hopefully, these parts of an equation look very familiar to you. Hopefully, these parts of an equation remind you of the expression. We have a lot of words that are the same. Starting off, our coefficient. Remember, our coefficient is a number in front of the variable showing multiplication. Because when we have a number and a variable side by side, there is really multiplication happening there. Side by side means multiply. Some people on our expressions test, if x was equal to 3, they were making it be 43. But that's not right. It needs to be 4 times 3. That would be 4 times 3. So if you want to draw that multiplication dot in the middle there, that might help you. In our notes today, you're going to be seeing people using parentheses to substitute to remind you that that means multiplication. Then we have our variable. A variable is a letter that represents an unknown value. Our variable here is x. That is not a multiplication sign. That is a variable x. Now that we're getting into this higher level of math, a lot of the time you're going to be seeing parentheses for multiplication instead of an x, because we don't want to get it confused with our variable. Next, we have our operator or our operation, as we've been seeing it more often. An operator is a symbol that represents math operations such as add or subtract. Add or subtract. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what happens if our operation symbol is subtraction, because something happens there. Something happens there. Our constants, remember, those are our numbers by itself. A constant is a number by itself. In class, we talked about how constant is something that's not going to change. It's by itself. It's not going to change. It's going to stay that number. Our coefficient, like Mr. Mlig says, is like our co-op games. We're playing with somebody else. We're together with somebody. Co-teachers, they teach together. But constants are by themselves. And then the last part is term. These are new. 4x is a term. 7 is a term. 19 is a term. A term is a single number, variable, or numbers and or variables multiplied together. So 19 is a term because it's by itself. 7 is a term because it's by itself. 4x together is a term because they're together. Basically, if it's separated by an addition, subtraction, or equal sign, that helps make it a term. That helps make it a term. Again, the only new word down here was term. Operator, we've seen operation before. We've talked about operation before, but term was really new here. And you're going to keep seeing terms in the years to come. When we're seeing these equations, there's going to be a few things that they're going to do to us to try to trick us. A few things they're going to do to us to try to trick us. So the first thing is sometimes you're not going to see a coefficient. You're not going to see a number with your variable. You might just see it by itself. If there's no number with that x, there's an implied or an invisible 1 in front of that x, really. There's really an invisible 1. But 1 times x is just x, so we don't really write that down. We would just write x plus 2 equals 3. There's really an invisible 1 in front there. Sometimes we'll just see a negative in front of our coefficient or a negative in front of our variable. Like here, 14 is equal to negative y. And the coefficient there, again, it's an invisible 1 out front, but it's really an invisible negative 1. So our coefficient there would be negative 1. Something that's just a little bit different there. Just a little bit different there. The second thing that we're going to try to get tricked up by is if there's a subtract operator. If you see the operation of subtraction in your problem, that's going to change things a little bit for your coefficient and for your constants. So, for example, up here, we see 12 minus 6x is equal to negative 1. This term, 6x, has to include this negative, the sign, the operation in front of it. So here, my negative 6x, my coefficient is really negative 6. It looks like a minus 6x, but that minus is part of the term, which makes it a negative 6. Down here, we have a negative y is equal to x minus 2. Again, this subtraction sign, this minus sign, has to go with the term behind it. So this constant here is really a negative 2. It's really a negative 2 because a minus and a negative are the same things in math. Minus and the negative are the same things in math. So whatever symbol goes before it, it matches up with the number behind it. Over here, this is a positive 2 because there's a plus sign in front of it. The operation in front goes with the term behind it. If you have any questions about this, please let us know. But you might pick it up here once we see some examples. Good luck.